Today on Homeworthy, we're taking you to Charleston, South Carolina for a look inside jewelry designer Janet Gregg's Maximalist home. She spent a decade living in New York before deciding to plant her roots in Charleston, where she has been living for the past 17 years. After an illustrious career working for Charlotte Moss and Vaughan Lighting out of London, Janet has developed a keen eye for design. A maximalist at heart, inside Janet's home you'll find bold colors, a beautiful collection of artwork, and a gorgeous mix of high-end and DIY decor. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hello, Homeworthy. I'm Janet. Welcome to my house in downtown Charleston. I can hardly wait to show you around. Please come in. Welcome to my first floor of my townhouse, and people would walk in and initially say, "Oh my gosh, this is such a strange shaped space," but miraculously I've figured something out that makes it sort of cozy because I entertain all the time, and this entrance is quite important because you kind of walk in and you sort of immediately take in what's going to be happening throughout the house, which I actually adore, this part of it. When I first moved in the house 8 years ago, I love this color. It's called eraser pink, and I really have loved it, actually loved it. And a dear friend of mine, a decorating friend of mine, helped me, and we did this kind of dark Farrow ball color on the doors, the steps, and the back of the front door. Well, I'm ready for a change. And I'm very concerned is the fact that I cannot make a decision, which is not like me at all, not even close. So I'm just going from every shade of color you can imagine except greens or blues, what to paint down here. So hopefully someday I will. But for now, I do love the eraser pink. And this installation, my original color blocks, which I design and sell, I can obviously change this. And I have changed it a couple times to any combination, any colors I wish. So that will be coming down the road as well, a change. And this, as I said, challenge space in my townhouse, there is no closet, coat closet. So I've created this little nook here, and I just had hooks put on the walls, and there are my mess of coats and bags. So I absolutely love this table. I found it at TJ Maxx, whether I should admit that or not. I'm quite proud of it. And it fits perfectly there. And I really wanted something that was not terribly heavy, and I wanted it clear so that it wouldn't jam up the space, as well as a bench, which is perfect to put a handbag or what have you when you're popping upstairs or groceries. And then this is it's actually miraculous that this sideboard, which I did find, this was in my old office, fits absolutely perfect in that little nook, which is amazing. And every few months, I think I'm going to lacquer it, but yet I've yet to do that. Maybe one day. We are now going to go upstairs to my second floor, which you'll see is an open space with my dining room, my kitchen, and my living room, as well as a walkthrough to the powder room and a bar. So please join me on the second floor. Welcome to my living room. I have to say, when I first moved here, when I bought this place 8 years ago, I was looking for a couple years to find something in Charleston to buy. And I was adamant that I wanted a fireplace and a garden. Well, I have neither of those things, and I couldn't be happier in this house. So by saying that, no fireplace in this lovely living room, but I have to say it's so cozy. I really do live in this room because I entertain all the time, and which we'll talk about as well a little bit later. But this painting is very much of a treasure for me and a gift from Sally King Benedict, who I absolutely love like a daughter. And I had her first show. She's an incredible artist. She's known nationally, if not internationally. And she very kindly gave me that beautiful painting, which was probably about 14, 15 years ago. And these pieces of furniture I've collected over the years when I lived in New York and I worked for Charlotte Moss. And I was able to get her wonderful, she was kind enough to share her wonderful sources of painters and fabrics. And I have obviously an enormous fetish of cream with the colored pillows that I've made. Obviously I've had these made, these pillows. With scraps or things I've collected. I adore white and cream lamps. They're absolutely everywhere, all different textures. Here we have one that it's, twig, driftwood, what have you. These lampshades I've designed and had made. That was in my other past life. I started Vaughan Lighting based out of London, and I was so fortunate to have this wonderful job and loved it dearly. And one of my responsibilities was design and American-made lampshades, which was quite fun. This was also a Vaughan piece, the chinoiserie pedestal table, which they very kindly gave me, which I absolutely adore. But this thrift shop in Palm Beach, the Chester drawers, hate to admit, all my secrets, TJ Maxx, and I changed the handles to, I can't even remember where I found those, unfortunately. And a lot of the beautiful antiques were my parents'. And I love mixing the old with the new. The lucite bench was this fabulous leather crocodile fabric, is so chic. And you can see it's just an eclectic group that I think works, and they marry well together. The art I've collected since I was at least 18. Many of these pieces were, as I mentioned, gifts. My family, I have cousins and that are incredibly talented, beautiful artists. There's several of their things in the room, which I'm so proud of. And they've kindly shared all their beautiful wares with me as gifts or what have you. And I hate to admit, but there's hardly any table space anywhere. So I do have lots of collections on the tables. Okay, I have to laugh when you ask, am I a maximalist? It's, yes, very much so. I try, when something new comes into the house, I try to take something old out. Layers, would say it lightly. I feel safe in having cream fabrics, cream lamps, soft lampshades. Since, as I mentioned, in my previous job, I did work for this amazing international lighting company, and I learned so much between Charlotte Moss and Vaughan Lighting. And lighting and lampshades are incredibly important. And I literally have found some of these lampshades. This, I'm almost certain, came from TJ Maxx or Lowe's. Lowe's used to have the most divine linen lampshades. I can't even tell you how many of those I was able to purchase over the years. This coffee table, oh my gosh, the glass base was literally on the way to the trash can when I lived in New York. And there was absolutely nothing wrong with it. I'm assuming that the base was broken in shipping. So I ran down the street, got a taxi, put that in the taxi, took it home, stuffed it somewhere until I could find the perfect marble base, which I put on top, which I adore. I think it worked out just fine. So maximalists would say it lightly. Yes, I am. I was very fortunate to have a wonderful 14-year, incredibly fulfilling, loving, cherished life in New York. There are just so many levels of it that I was just so happy and grateful for, and wonderful careers. And then I ended up starting my own business while I was in New York, and now I design jewelry. But I've always done flowers for parties and events, and I continue to do that. But my main business is jewelry. And I moved to Charleston, renting this little cottage downtown, and a dear, dear friend of mine found the cottage basically for me, sight unseen, and I took it. And then here I am 17 years later and love every bit of it. Absolutely love it here. But that would spark me to Charleston, yes. I was looking for a little bit of time for something to buy, and as we all know, Charleston real estate is quite expensive, and I was fortunate to, yes, within 45 minutes of seeing this, I left a check deposit. Yes, I knew it immediately. And one of the main reasons why I knew immediately, which we will see, we're going to walk over to my dining room, is that I walked up these wonderful stairs, and the first thing I noticed, of course, the first thing was drawn to me was this dining space. Now, of course, we don't have room for a dining room, but I very successfully, I have a table set here for luncheon, But I have two wings in this table, and I can spread it out here, and I can seat easily 14 people, which is pretty miraculous, and somehow works. And then these bookcases were in my office, which I absolutely love, but I have no shelves, and this was, I think, a wonderful way to warm up the space and divide it somewhat. My very lovely parents, when we sold our house in Virginia, they very kindly gave me a lot of their pieces. They just didn't need it in their little house in Florida. So these lacquer chairs are just so typical from the late 70s, early 80s, and I absolutely adore them. This was the original color, the colors that I grew up with. And my mother, my sweet dear mother, made these chairs, these needlepoint chairs. I did the design and I drew it, and then she stitches them at 94, which is actually miraculous. And I found these little pickle chairs in my travels and had the upholsterer obviously upholster them. In some of these details on my table, I would like to reach out and mention that the flowers, of course, I did. I couldn't even begin to count how many containers I have. I mix them up all the time. I truly use them, most of them, almost every few weeks. And every single flower, you can see I do the limes. I use limes. I love fruit and flower arrangements. All those flowers came from Trader Joe's the day of. And I actually had those in the refrigerator because I've had 2 parties in the past 10 days before Homeworthy arrived. And I just put them in the refrigerator. It just worked fantastic. I just love it. You can see the glasses don't match entirely. The china doesn't match entirely. I buy things in sets in even numbers so that I mix and match it. And it just works. These were my mother's bowls, which are these lovely blue crystal Wedgwood, and I adore them. And the place cards I designed and made, and they're never 2 tables set exactly alike, ever. So that kind of makes the fun of it, is certainly when you've been fortunate enough to be invited back, then you know that you're going to be surprised. And also this lovely gift, a dear friend of mine gave me their kitchen towels, and she gave me 12, which was so incredibly generous. And I thought, my gosh, I'm not going to use them as kitchen towels. I'm going to have this beautiful local monogram, or make them. And I'm just thrilled with them. And I, of course, designed it, the initials. I love the question of what kind of host am I, which I have to say one of the many, many reasons why I love being in Charleston is because I absolutely adore sharing my home. And I'm very spontaneous a lot of the time, and I'll ask people to come over for a quick drink on their way to supper, or I'll have friends in town, and I say, please come by for a drink, please bring your house guests, please bring your friends of your house guests, and I really mean that, I truly do. And it's so casual here. And then when I have dinner parties, I'm not the most divine cook, not even close. It's an experience, as someone said to me once, by being here. It's certainly not this incredible food scenario. But as far as the company, I put so much thought into my guest list. And most of the time, they're not going to know each other. Maybe 1 or 2 people, but it's not like I would create 14 people and they're all besties and do everything together. I'd really try to mix it up. And I love introducing people to others that I know that they would get along and they would enjoy each other. And that's the best part of it all. And I try to have at least 3 courses, if not 4, soup, main course, salad, and dessert, because you're at a table to enjoy each other, so why not spread it out? And so that is how, in a short version, how I would say, what kind of host am I? My really close friends sort of make fun of me a little bit because of my bookcase, and I understand that because some of it, I'm very fortunate to have the most amazing group of godchildren, which I cherish and love sometimes more than their parents, I'm sure, some days. So I have lots of pictures of my beautiful godchildren, and which I see very proudly in these bookcases here. My family, my cousins, and I'm an adamant note writer, and I just don't want to sound like I'm flattering myself, but my handwriting is so hideous. So if you're fortunate to get one, good luck reading it. But it's sincere. So some of these incredible notes that people have kindly sent to me, I can't help but toss them in a bookcase somewhere or in a closet. So I have I have lots of my favorites, but I couldn't fit them all in the bookcase. And then, of course, all these beautiful books that I've been collecting for years and years and years. And I have pictures of travel. I mean, it's really, really my closest friends and godchildren and family. But it could be chock-a-block full, and I tried to, in some way, minimize it so it's not too much. But I really do love my bookcase very much. Somehow works in here. Please join me in my kitchen area, which you can see is a galley kitchen, which as I mentioned, I was fortunate enough to buy this house, and the cabinets were painted, all the stonework was here. I did not pick any of this out, but I have to say it really does work because it is a bit dark, obviously, but not busy. And I think, especially at night, it bounces off the walls quite well, the lighting, and it's comfortable. And I think because I have it, obviously, I divide the space with these greens that I cut, and I don't have bar stools because I would never sit at them. So I'm really trying to create a room here, which I think works. I really do think works. And I'm quite fond of the kitchen. But I do have a pet peeve. If you're in my house for a dinner party or cocktail party, I really have a hard time with people hanging out in the kitchen, because then they're escaping everyone else, and I have my sweet bartender and they're getting in his way. So I please don't do that when you come to the house. I do have a lot of things around the house, yes, absolutely. But in my countertops, eventually I'm going to change this and put mirror. I haven't done that yet. But I try not to have hardly anything on the countertops. Now, this is exactly how it looks, I promise. So I have the bowl for the fruits. I have my little coffee station. And then I have that, which is a bit cluttered, which I should probably take away. But anyway, there it is. And my paper towels. So clean space. I really do live like this, clean space. Miraculous. Because the rest of the house is pretty cluttered. So I think this is quite sincere by looking at this space. Yeah, this doesn't change. Well, this bench is about the fact that I found this at TJ Maxx. Again, sharing all my dark secrets. The needlepoint pillow I made. Again, and my lovely seamstress put that together. My mother did the stitching, and it looks perfect there, I think. These are photographs I found I'm quite happy with. And yes, the bench I just had reupholstered. The pillow, the patchwork pillow, I came up with that, put those fabrics together. Yes, I do love that bench. Not many people sit at, though, because this is in the danger zone. You're not supposed to come in this area when I entertain, and they listen. So that's good. So it's a prop. The bench is a prop. And you can obviously notice I didn't do a chandelier in the dining area. I did it in the kitchen, so it divides the space a little bit better. And then dimmers are everywhere in the house. They're crucial. I can't even tell you how crucial it is. So the lights dim. It's actually quite nice at night. It's the lighting in this space is quite nice. I do love my things, and I do curate them, and I do fold some in and out and recycle some, not so much, give away, what have you. And because there are some things that are semi-valuable and so many things that aren't, which is absolutely fine. I love mixing it, and that creates a story, but it's confidence too, that it's okay that this is a reproduction. And the top of this table has been loved and used by families, and it's not perfect, and that's okay. And I'm not covering up because I'm ashamed that it's not perfect. It's lived in, and I think every bit of this house is absolutely lived in. And if something were to break accidentally, it's absolutely fine. So why not show it, and why not have it out? Like china, oh my gosh, I have some really lovely china, some lovely crystal. I use it all the time. I use it on the porch. I'm not afraid of breaking anything, and if it does break, then it's okay, but it's used, and I feel very confident that we should try to use. I have 3 sets of silver pattern that I use, that I love them, and they were my grandmother's and my mother's, and I adore them, and I use them absolutely every single day. I live in this little space in my house, and I take such pride in using it. And as much as I travel for work and with my family and what have you, and seeing friends, when I'm here, I cherish every minute being here, and that's part of it, is by taking full advantage of your grandmother's antiques or your great-grandmother's linens or whatever china that you've been given or have collected. Please use it. And I have plenty of things that I found at the Goodwill for a couple dollars that I fill in with the finer things. And I'm absolutely fine with that. So please follow me to my bar, which is in the hallway. And I do have a surprise for you once we get there. So please follow me. When I purchased this townhouse 8 years ago, I was very fortunate. I had several friends of mine, dear friends of mine from New York, or we used to live in New York together, and they kindly helped me move. 3 of the 6, 7 friends were decorators, very accomplished decorators. So one I love so much, and I love them all, but one was so funny. She said, Janet, I know you so well, you're never going to have this made into a closet. So I know that furniture, that piece of furniture that was up in your bedroom, I want you to put that in here, and you're going to put your glass collection, you're going to make this a bar. I was like, okay, absolutely, without any doubt. So there you have it. This was in an armoire in my previous bedroom, and I have a very serious, almost scary glass fetish. I admit it. It's a bit weird. I have glasses above here. And I truly, when I mean that, I use them all the time. And I have glasses over the refrigerator. So it's crazy wacky. And then when the men come, they're so sweet when they come. I ask them to be the bartender, of course, and help with the drinks. And I have to do like a quick dictatorial, because who would ever know that this was a wine glass, which it is. Or we have this wine glass, which couldn't be more opposite, but we use them all. And there's no rhyme or reason, just shaking it up. So I've found these great little tables you can see inside where I put my wine, stack those on these tables, which are the exact same, these little stack tables. I have these wicker rattan. I lacquered these tables chocolate brown so that you couldn't see them. And I have all the accoutrement in there and leftovers and what have you. And it just seems to work. And then when I do have, sometimes when they're working too hard, the bartenders, they'll take a little break and they'll shut the door like this, and I've got to come in and check on them to make certain that they're not leaving me for hours on end, and they've got to, come back to the guests. I really do, it sounds so crazy, but my bar really is one of my favorite rooms in the house, and I'm eventually going to do a finish in here, a wall finish. I just haven't gotten there yet. But this bust, this wonderful bust, I made her. I lacquered that, and then I found these fantastic gray shells in the beaches of North Carolina. I absolutely adore her. This was my old house. I was on the cover of House Beautiful, and that's a very special photograph, time in my life, and I love looking at that and bragging about that whenever anyone walks in here. And I have these fabulous sconces that I've made. I have found the brackets, found the mirrors all separately, and then I light those candles at night, and they're just absolutely fab. So it's a super cozy little space. So here we go into the hallway on our way to the powder room. Now, when everything in the house was white when I first moved in, and obviously that's not the case now, but I did come up with this wonderful color. I call it mushroom, and I have absolutely no idea how I landed it, but I truly adore it. And a lot of people ask, they said, well, Jenna, how do you have this visual of confidence of hanging art? And it just seems to work. Now, I'm not flattering myself by saying that. This is what my friends kindly say. And I said, well, I collect frames wherever you can find them, you name it. I have wonderful places where I can have mats cut. They all change. I try not to put the same artists together to obviously create different patterns, different textures, different, I don't want to say themes, but settings or objects or still lifes or nudes or drawings of such, and they're all placed. And obviously the size of the frames has a lot to do how you stack it. This is another needlepoint creation I made. I found the chair at auction, and I designed that and made that. I absolutely adore that little chair. Into the hallway, which these sculptures were in my previous house in the garden. A dear friend of mine gave me these wonderful statues for my birthday one year, and I absolutely adore them. And I obviously don't have a garden. And another great friend decorator said, oh my gosh, Janet, they're perfect. Hercules is perfect in the hall. It's like perfect. Oh my gosh, it absolutely is. And I had this piece of glass cut obviously in the smoky color, which I think works perfectly in here. And I couldn't be happier. Love the mirror, one of my finds. And that was a gift that just sort of, that top piece just sort of makes it. Please join me in my very bright pink powder room. Can hardly wait to show you. Here we are. As you can see, pink is putting it mildly. It's electric. And I adore this room, and I can't even begin to tell you how I come up with that. I needed something super happy in my life. And I said, well, what could I paint? I said, oh my gosh, this is white. Now it's going to be pink. And I love it so much. And the chandelier I found it a thrift shop, the base, and I covered the whole thing in faux turquoise and made these little, I don't know what you call that, but in any event, I did that. And lampshades I found, and I just adore it. And then I strung it at the top, as you can see, with what I had a chain done, because if I had to restructure the whole lighting, I just didn't know if I'd love it forever. So I just rigged it, and here you have it. And these are, again, this was someone gave me this beautiful portrait, which I adore. It was a beautiful artist in town, and she kindly gave me that as a gift, and I really love it. But this is just, again, some collections of things I've had over the years. Let's go upstairs. I have a couple bedrooms and a den to show you. So welcome to the third floor hallway. This is a very special painting that a dear friend of mine, Ann Darby Parker, painted and gave me, and I just absolutely adore it. And it very much grounds the space perfectly. I made the shell mirror. I found the mirror at the Goodwill, and then I covered this in a couple days, and I just absolutely adore it. And I made this bust as well. Dear friends gave me this box as a gift, and I thought, my gosh, what in the world am I going to put in it? But I somehow came up with this idea, this concept, and it's turned out quite well. These curtains I love so much, and one of my very best friends gave me a pair of these curtains, and I'm so proud of them. They're absolutely beautiful. And I have the other set, the other pair, in my den, so please join me. These dark Pharaoh and Ball, I adore these walls, and it worked out perfectly. A decorative friend of mine convinced me in this color, and thank God I listened to her, because I absolutely love it. Painting I collected, I found in New York. Patchwork pillows I made. My mother made this incredible needlepoint rug. It's really fantastic, and it was in our house in Virginia Beach where I grew up, and I just love it, absolutely love it. My father made that little chest of drawers. So there's a lot of very sentimental things in this room, and I really am crazy about it. So I hate to admit, one of the reasons why I really love this room is the television is in this room. Now, as you can see, my living room, there is not a television. So this is where the TV watching happens. And it's quite dark and private. It's perfect for viewing. So I'm very pleased with this room. So I'd love to show you my bedroom next, which is right across the hall. This is my bedroom. And as you can see, it's all neutrals, which is so soothing. I'm very, very pleased with this room. I found these chairs when I lived in New York. They've been reupholstered a couple times. My mother made this rug as well. They're all Virginia flowers. It was a project she did through the Garden Club of Virginia, and we absolutely adore it, and it's a very precious piece for me. A lot of the furniture I grew up with, and the bed I created, those were old curtains above the bed, and then a friend of mine found that fantastic top piece for the curtains. They work perfectly, and it's just a very soothing, wonderful light. We never close the curtains. When I have house guests, they get a little angry about that, but that's okay. They're going to have to deal with it, because I always have the curtains open, because it's like a tree fort up here. The trees are beautiful. It's just such a nice view. And then I have a little porch outside, which I really spent a lot of time out here during COVID, so it was quite a nice escape. I wanted to stack a lot, so I found that little bench. It may have been my mother's, actually. I think it was. And then I found that wonderful rawhide that it's ultra suede, and I just had it upholstered. And then, of course, I put my magazines, and I have my glasses, and it just sort of a catch-all with one of these very, very precious. This was a gift that I'm so proud of, but a wonderful Charleston basket that was made locally, very special to me. I have this garden bench here that I put magazines if I sit, watch television, or house guests, what have you. It's just comfortable. And unfortunately, there's a lot of chairs in this house, unfortunately, for some people trying to get around, but I don't know, they just warm up the space. And I do use them. I really do. It seems strange, but I really do. And then if you go down this hallway, you can see my collection continues down this hallway. And I took that space, and I found that little chandelier, which works up there as well. When I moved from my old house in Charleston to this house, I remember counting how many paintings I had then, and I think it was close to like 85, which really isn't very much. I have no idea what I have now, but I remember I was in a car ride for 6+ hours, and during the car ride, I went through each room, and I hadn't hung the paintings yet because I just moved, and I was trying to decide where I was going to put what art, and I did that in that 6-hour car ride, and I decided what was going where and how I was going to semi-place it and what pieces I'd like in that room and what have you, and that's how this all became black and white. A lot of it comes from junk stores. On several of them, I did a big fat trade for jewelry, for art, many things I did for that, and I just have been collecting them for just years and years and years. Here we are on my 3rd floor balcony right off of my bedroom, and this space is just such a wonderful refuge. It's so comfortable. This breeze is amazing. It's always breezy and comfortable up here, and just heaven. I just love coming out here. And at some point I'm going to plant these. I haven't gotten around to it, but it's just a cozy space and I really admit I come out here in my pajamas. I probably shouldn't, but I do. And coffee. Welcome to the guest room. This room is quite loved. Dogs have stayed here with their owners, children, grown-ups. I mean, it's a wonderful little double bed that I found in London and I had brought over, but it's so comfortable in here. I adore these colors. I came up with this color, and several of these pieces actually I found in England at auction when I was working for Vaughan. And I would travel there quite a bit. My father made this bedside table, which I adore. Very proud of that. These were given to me by my other wonderful dear best friend that gave me the curtains in the hallway. How lucky am I? I mean, this is just the sweetest thing, and it makes this room. They're wonderful. This chair was in my office, and I bought it at the Goodwill for $30, and I had it reupholstered in this vinyl, which is bulletproof, literally. You can just wipe it off. It's so fantastic. I love it. It's perfect in here. The linens I've collected. The painting, I did a trade. It was a great friend of mine, this beautiful artist that gave that to me. The chandelier I made. So please join me in the guest bathroom, which I'm very proud of because I painted these walls. And this was probably one of the most fun projects I've ever done. I literally lived in this space for about 2 weeks. Almost day in, day out, truly. And I did not use a stencil. I did not have a pattern. The paint was in my ground floor is a scrap paint, like a sample, that it just happened to work perfectly. And it was so much fun to do. I had the best time. I just absolutely love it. And I made this bust. This was from my office that's covered in coral. And I use it for lots of my displays and my jewelry. And her name is Coco. We had to name it. Too much love went into it. She has to have a name. And I just love it so much. This is just a great little space. Very comfortable, great guest bathroom. Thank you, Homeworthy. I loved having you. You are the perfect guest. And unfortunately, you're going to have to leave now because my guests are about to join for lunch. You've almost overstayed your welcome. But thank you. I'm just thrilled to meet you. And I so hope you'll come again. So thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.